Most men step into the world of seduction the same way a blind man wanders into a maze, feeling for direction, stumbling over their own uncertainty, convinced they lack beauty, money, or clever lines to be desired. But the truth is far more uncomfortable and far more liberating. You are playing on hard mode not because you are unworthy, but because you cannot see the invisible rules. Seduction has never been about force. It has never been about overray. It has never been about emotional pressure. Seduction is the art of shaping perception. Robert Greene says it clearly. Power is not doing more. Power is making the other person feel exactly what you intend them to feel. And once you apply that principle to female desire, everything clicks into place. You begin to understand why so many men fall into the same exhausting loop. They give everything away before the game even begins. The average man believes that being pleasing increases attraction. In reality, it makes him predictable. So he shrinks himself to appear interesting. He over-explains to appear trustworthy. He reshapes himself to appear desirable. And the more he does that, the more presence he loses. The more depth he loses, the more value he loses. Because there is a quiet mistake, a hidden self-sabotage that destroys every opportunity before the interaction even starts. The trap begins with a simple confusion, mistaking female attention for female approval. A woman looking at you does not mean she liked you. It only means her senses registered your presence. But the needy man, starved for validation, interprets "I noticed you" as "I want you." And the moment he does that, he hands over the entire game. He exposes too much intention, too much energy, too much hunger. He loses the battle before he even steps into the arena. Modern research only confirms what the psychology of power has whispered for decades. In 2023, the University of Rochester showed that men who try to please too quickly, the ones who rush to impress, are instantly rated as less desirable. The female brain links that excessive eagerness to emotional fragility, dependency, and low selectiveness, traits that signal risk, not value. And here is a truth the average man refuses to confront. When you look anxious to be accepted, she immediately files you under. Too available, too easy, too predictable. Attraction does not grow in predictability. It grows in contrast. And contrast is the birthplace of masculine magnetism. This video is a cheat code because it exposes what almost no one dares to explain. The psychological patterns, the hidden micro-signals, the instinctive triggers that spark female desire long before a word is spoken. Before conversation, before a compliment, before the interaction even begins. Desire is born in the invisible. Desire is born in the quiet moments. Desire is born in the way you hold space, in the precision of your gaze, in how your energy shapes the atmosphere around you. The man who masters the invisible level never chases attention. He provokes it. He does not try to be chosen. He becomes inevitable. And it is inside this subtle, decisive territory where 80% of seduction truly happens. What you are about to learn is not a trick, not a memorized line, not performance. It is behavioral strategy. It is psychology in motion. It is the art of reading emotional currents, recognizing what creates desire and what destroys it. It is learning to operate at the level where the female mind makes its fastest, most instinctive, and most silent decisions. And the deeper your mastery of these invisible rules becomes, the clearer the entire game appears. Seduction was never hard. What is hard is playing blind. What is hard is competing without knowing the structure behind her instincts. What is hard is relying on tactics that only work for men who understand nothing. Today you step into a higher tier of the game. Today you will see things as they actually are. Today you receive the first fragment of the cheat code. The rest begins in the next chapter. But before anything else, you must confront the psychological error that destroys 90% of men before they even realize it's happening. Every man who has ever tried to attract a woman knows this feeling. The exhaustion of doing everything and receiving almost nothing in return. You talk, you compliment, you show interest. You try to be kind, trustworthy, agreeable. You try to become the man you think she wants, and yet something still collapses. There is an invisible barrier suffocating any chance of real attraction. A barrier with a name: over-validation. The silent self-sabotage that turns men into anxious applicants, desperate for approval she never requested. When you treat a woman like an unreachable trophy, you immediately position yourself below her emotionally and psychologically. It does not matter how confident you try to appear, your emotional signal always arrives loud and clear. You validate me, I need to be accepted. I'm terrified of messing this up. And no woman feels desire for a man who, even without speaking, asks for permission to exist beside her. Its origin is biological. Evolution does not care about your intentions. In 2019, David Buss demonstrated that women are extremely sensitive to the emotional cost of being involved with a man who displays dependency, anxiety, or instability. The female brain does not interpret emotional neediness as charm. It interprets it as risk of drama, risk of chaos, risk of emotional burden. And instinctively she steps away. It does not matter if you are polite, gentle, or hardworking. If your energy carries the scent of neediness, she labels you as high investment, low return. And her brain makes that judgment in seconds. What most men never grasp is that attraction is not the reward for effort. Attraction is the reward for contrast. When you are emotionally self-contained, you stop trying to be chosen. You stand with weight. You move without fear. You neither chase connection nor run from it. This balance creates magnetism, because in the female subconscious, a man who does not seek immediate approval is automatically categorized as more valuable, more selective, more grounded, and therefore more desirable. The less you try to impress her, the more she becomes curious about you. The less you explain yourself, the more she fills the gaps. The less you chase, the closer she moves. Science continues to confirm this contrast. In 2022, researchers at the Norwegian University of Science and Technology discovered something powerful. Men who carry expansive body language, grounded posture, and a calm, steady speaking rhythm are consistently rated as more attractive, more dominant, and more emotionally solid. Not because they say anything brilliant, but because their very presence radiates internal certainty. Women do not judge you by your words alone. They judge your rhythm, your firmness, your presence. A man who occupies space naturally without forcing it signals dominance. A man who speaks slowly signals control. A man who takes a deep breath before replying signals confidence. And confidence ignites curiosity every single time. Applying this is simple, but it demands self-awareness. Before you say a single word, fix your presence. A deep, grounded breath, a neutral, aligned posture. Direct eye contact, steady, not tense. A slow, stable rhythm when you speak. A response time that does not expose anxiety, because attraction begins in the first 30 seconds. And within those 30 seconds, 3 silent mistakes kill everything. Explaining too much, trying to please too soon, showing interest before she shows any. Remove these 3 habits and your presence transforms. Adjust these signals and her entire perception shifts. Control them and you finally rise above the 90% of men who lose before the interaction even begins. This is the hidden architecture of female desire. The code she never verbalizes but always obeys. Most men begin to fail at a very predictable point. They start trying to prove their worth. They talk endlessly. They justify themselves. They explain who they are, what they do, what they want, believing they can build attraction with words. But to the female brain, that excess does not create impact. It creates exposure, and too much exposure kills mystery, kills tension, kills magnetism. When a man tries to persuade a woman that he is worth her time, he exposes his fear that he might not be. And fear in this context evaporates desire instantly. The feminine does not respond to long speeches. It responds to posture. It responds to emotional rhythm. It responds to the way you place yourself in the dynamic, not the effort you make to impress her. The man who embodies value always outshines the man who explains value. Female tests come directly from this truth. And no, they are not cruelty. They are ancient emotional safety mechanisms. Jungian psychology calls it shadow and projection. Women are constantly scanning for one thing, whether the man standing before them is emotionally stable enough to handle the intensity that will surface later. That is why she provokes, why she challenges, why she contradicts, why she falls silent, why she observes in total stillness. It is not hostility. It is an evaluation, a filter, a fast instinctive test of your internal structure. Daniel Carnian's work on social heuristics explains this perfectly.